Speaking of grumbling, I kind of feel like you came in here with a chip on your shoulder.
I don't know what you're talking
Some
about.
things
Sick
to
of your
say.
attitude, man.
Like I check my attitude at the door. That's what, like the sign says out front. It says no tudes.
That's right.
And I adhere to that as the person who put the sign up. I feel like it would be uncouth for me to come in here with a tude.
Got to practice what you preach.
That said,
let's hear your entirely fair, unbiased, balanced, calm appraisal of.
I finished Metal Gear Survive.
Yeah.
Well,
have you?
I finished the story.
Okay.
Of Metal Gear Survive.
I think you were the only person I know who's actually played through that whole thing.
I mean,
Nobody
afterwards, don't. And that's my answer. That is my. If you want, as someone who has been there, don't play through Metal Gear Survive.
I think I might not.
Yeah.
The last 3 times I've played it, I've come away from it going, well, that's the last time I'm going to play that.
Yeah. That's a wise.
But curiosity has like gotten the best of us every time we see it. We're like, oh wow, what the hell is that?
And that's
like how Metal Gear does this game
That's what drove me through it. And
gotta see it through.
I can always I can sit here and say, I saw credits basically. Okay. I got a bad ending, and then went like, what the fuck? Wait, what the fuck?
Multiple endings.
And then because there was a waypoint that was not clear enough for me to follow, but there was another thing that I did that I thought was the thing to do, and it turned out that was just activate bad end.
Did you get the good ending?
I guess I won't spoil it. And then you can reload and do that sequence again, and
get the good ending,
and get the good ending, I guess. And so it's like Metal Gear Survive is to the Phantom Pain as like Fortnite Battle Royale is to Fortnite. In that it's like they had a lot of assets for a thing they made, and then said, what if we made a totally different game?
Oh, I thought you were saying that this was better.
No. No.
I'm kidding.
No. Definitely not. It feels like a mod. It feels like like the same way that, these battlegrounds, these battle royale games sprung out of Arma and some of this other stuff and all that. Like, this feels like a similar thing, except it just happens to be made by the same company and some of the same people who worked on some of those previous Metal Gear games.
I'm going to read an email real fast.
Okay.
Carl from Sweden.
Old Swedish Carl.
Metal Gear Survive.
The of Carls.
Metal Gear Survive is a strange asset flip spin-off with a heavy focus on time management.
Totally.
Is Metal Gear Survive the Majora's Mask of Metal Gear?
Yeah, it sucks like Majora's Mask did. Yeah. Man. So I think it's like super disingenuous for them to have the Metal Gear name on this thing.
I mean, it would be weird if they didn't, just because it is built out of those parts.
Right. But like, if you think about what Metal Gear has meant up to this point, it has meant like the story, a lot of this other stuff, like the gameplay,
like a lot of intrigue, a lot of interesting characters.
Right. It's not to say the gameplay is bad.
To be fair, in the first 90 minutes, it does have that. It just sounds like maybe it doesn't.
And it doesn't
go anywhere.
But also it doesn't have that in the same way with the same depth and specificity.
Well, they build it up in a way that suggests they might, but then it sounds like they don't follow through.
There's like a militaristic fetishism to Metal Gear, like the way it treats its guns and, like all the stuff, even I think that translated into development to a certain extent when you saw them out there going like, we spent a month in LA CQC trading. You're like, you guys are fucking all right, sure, whatever.
Military advisor Motosada Mori.
Yeah,
I remember that guy's name because they've trotted him out
exactly
like for every
all that
game.
Fucking weird dumb shit.
Check out our military advisor
for whatever that's worth, right? And I generally speaking have really liked most of the Metal Gear games. So this, when you read the way they're pitching this game, they talk about it in terms of like it's that same gameplay from Phantom Pain. That's just a fucking lie.
Yeah, I like the controls.
The controls are the same.
The engines,
but the enemies you are facing, the situations you find yourself in, are so different, and the weapons you will use are so different than the stuff that you would do in Phantom Pain.
Watching the trailer, like I saw a bunch of stealth sequences.
I mean, yes, you will get a bonus to your energy if you sneak up behind the zombies and kill them. Also, the zombies are so dumb with their attacks that if you're facing them one at a time and they're not ganging up on you, you can still get behind them and do the stealth kill even if they're like trying to charge you.
Damn, you're good.
But that's part of the reason I have walked away from this thing is because like the movement is just clumsy enough, and that prompt for doing the backstab is like
it's just finicky enough.
Like the zone that you need to be in. Like it comes and goes constantly.
Yeah,
like I keep missing it because the prompt will disappear a split second before I hit the button. Like
I dialed it in a lot better over the course of the 20-ish hours I played.
I probably would too eventually.
Maybe 25-ish.
I don't know if I want to put that kind of time in at this point because it's so frustrating up front.
Right. And also, like, you know, the gameplay at hour 1 is not very different from the gameplay at hour 20 or 30.
Really?
In terms of just like, you know, depending on what you want to do with your resources. Like you eventually start crafting more and more guns. And then it becomes a matter of like, do you have the lead and gunpowder and all this other stuff to craft bullets? And that just becomes busy work in a lot of cases. They set up like this game feels
be
like
a way to like automate some of that stuff, right? Like,
well, you get a team, an expedition team that you can send out. And it takes, you know, like 22 real world minutes for them to come back with stuff.
Oh, that thing.
And then you can pay them real money to unlock additional slots for more teams.
Nice.
But through the course of the story itself, you won't have enough people at your base to like really fill any of that out. That's kind of all post-game stuff. If you really want to get into the base building and survival aspect of this game, which is really what this game is. This game is not...
Can you like take over other people's bases? No PvP. No. So there's no way to show that off. Really.
Right.
Okay. Boo. All right.
You know, that would be something that they could do if you could raid bases and stuff like that.
Go through a wormhole to other versions of DT.
Yeah. Other
bases.
So that's the thing. This is not the single player stuff from Phantom Pain.
Yeah.
This is the FOB multiplayer stuff from Phantom Pain, but without the multiplayer.
I'll create the stuff I didn't touch.
Right. Well, it's the stuff that was like not, you know, some people got way into that.
Yes.
I like the idea because like if you looked at that on its face, like you looked at it, it was a lot like the Castle Doctrine, a Jason Rohrer game. Where it's like, okay, I'm going to invade other people's places when they're not online and take their shit. If they are online, they might fucking come back to their base and then there'd be a human player there. That's crazy. Like there were crazy moments that had potential in Phantom Pain. But at the end of the day, like the stuff you were struggling to get, it was not worth the time.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't think adding live competitive multiplayer to this game would actually add anything because at the end of the day, like there are ways to get resources. And it's playing the co-op multiplayer.
It sounds like the most damning thing about it is just the lack of variety.
Yeah. It's I mean, the final confrontation in that story mode is just a much longer and more annoying base defense than all the other base defenses you've done along the way.
Which you start doing 3 hours into the story?
Yeah.
You start doing it's basically a wave-based holdout thing.
Exactly.
Just build some fences and like hold zombies off for 3 minutes.
And then the multiplayer mode are just 4-player versions of those missions that you see in the single player for the most part. There's a couple areas that I saw on multiplayer levels that I never saw over the course of the campaign, like an airport level and stuff like that I assume are out there. But I never had to go to them as part of the story.
Speaking of defenses, like what else? You mentioned just like throwing up fences and poking them with sticks. Does it evolve much past that? You know,
so
you sort of like military fetishism. It's like, hey, did you get any cool weapons?
I got a better spear.
Nice.
Eventually, you get a knife taped to the end of a stick.
I saw you went from a sharpened pipe to a staff with a knife taped to it.
Yep, totally.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
So there are really kind of 4 types of melee weapons. The spear, the thrusting weapon. You've got heavy weapons like big sledgehammers. You've got one-handed weapons like machetes and shovels. And 2-handed weapons like baseball bats.
Do those work well with the defenses?
No.
I didn't think so.
No.
There are different types of attacks. There's like thrusting versus swiping.
Yeah.
So like thrusting can go through fences, but swiping cannot.
Yeah, so like your one-handed shovel does not really even hit them through a fence. You eventually get, recipes for different types of fences. So you might build like a low concrete barrier.
Oh, sure. Okay.
And so you can attack over that with any of the other weapons. But that spear, when you level up and unlock the additional moves and upgrades and there's upgrades for each type of weapon. So like there are 3 things you can upgrade for thrusting attacks. There are 3 things you can upgrade for one-handed attacks. And it's always like make the combo go a little longer, add a sprint attack, and then like a heavy attack. So, if I ready the spear and hit X, there's a stamina expending thrust that's like, we'll go gah, 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 and really stick somebody. I found every other melee weapon in that game to be completely fucking worthless.
Great.
Because out in the open, when you're not trying to defend something, like, you're really just better off running circles around the zombies until you get to their back, and then the prompt shows up to get a one-hit kill. You do that and move on. If you're attacked by hordes or whatever, like you can just like plop a fence up right there, and the zombies are so dumb that they will not make their way around the fence if you're standing directly on the other side of it.
Awesome.
So they'll just press up against it, giving you enough time to get some
them.
space or corral them or whatever you want to do.
Do you lose the ability to Fulton the zombies if you wait too long?
I don't know.
Like I've backstabbed a couple in the middle of a fight, but
yeah.
then had to like move away to deal with some other guys that were around. And then when I came back,
I have not experienced that.
What's the purpose of Fultoning?
It's faster and you get more.
you get more
more
resources.
currency out of it.
Okay.
If you backstab and send them through a wormhole, you get more upgrade points than if you
just like
carve them up.
For the animals, if you punch them and instead of kill them, you can Fulton them back to your base, and then it's like it really is all base management, because you've got people at your base, they can get sick. So you eventually have to build these mutualization centers that are just like, you need to put food and medical stuff into these cabinets so that the people at your base don't get sick and die. Man. So like that's the same stuff that you're using to keep yourself alive. So it ends up being like,
take care of all these people?
Exactly. And
so, these animals?
Yeah. Well, the animals just spit out milk and mats over time, basically. So you can use that to craft better shit. It's not fun.
That's kind of the only thing that's keeping me going right now is like, so the upkeep is so harsh at the beginning. Like you've just got straight up hunger and thirst that are constantly ticking down. And,
you don't even get clean water.
Right. So knowing that there are systems in there to automate that stuff, because you can get like rain tanks that just catch water automatically. Sure. And then, like,
but it catches them slowly. Like this game, I feel like this is a game that should be free, because of the number of microtransactions and stuff that are in there.
I honestly thought it was going to be.
$40 is way too much for what this thing is. Like I would have a hard time recommending it for anything higher than even 20, I would say. Okay. But and even that's like a highly qualified, like, well, if you specifically want to see this train wreck up close and have a thing for like this type of survival, like,
so do they ever even make good on like the Dr. Goodluck stuff, like all the weird stuff they set up at the beginning? Like,
there is an arc to that story that pays off, and you're like, oh, fucking all right, I guess.
All right.
But it's if you're looking for a payoff that ties back into real Metal Gear, no.
Okay.
This is a self-contained thing.
All right.
That you get to the end of it, you get the reveal and go, oh yeah, I guess that makes sense.
Good to know.
Right. I guess I should have seen this coming, but I guess it's so inconsequential that like whatever.
Yeah.
And then it dumps you back into the world, and then you start getting like more survivors showing up, and then you start really building your base, and then it's like, okay, well now I need to build more fucking tents, I guess, because these people need a place to sleep, and then there's a 27% chance they're going to get injured, so I better go put some fabric in this cabinet so that lowers that percentage chance.
Remember at the end of Metal Gear Solid 2 where you fight your twin brother who's the president wearing a Dr. Octopus suit on top of Wall Street?
Yeah.
That was pretty fucking cool.
That was very fucking
Metal
cool.
Gear used to be pretty fucking cool.
Metal Gear was pretty fucking cool.
Just the last 30 seconds of you describing what happens in the end game of that game, I couldn't picture a more disappointing thing to a Metal Gear fan.
And then the stuff they want you to do post game, so like little like hardcore boss creatures will show up that you can go out and fight, and it's a more difficult fight against a bigger thing, and you're like, man, if there had been more variety over the course of the story mode, maybe I would feel a little bit better about doing this. But now it's like, I'm killing this for what? To build up this base I don't care about?
That's the thing to me, like, to what end are you doing all this stuff? Because you can't take your base online, you can't show it to people, you can't
there's not like even like an online friend base thing?
No, you take your character into multiplayer matches, but that's it.
And so the late game stuff even starts to have level requirements and also survivor requirements. So you have, like they did in Phantom Pain, Metal Gear Survive has a thing where you will put people onto teams. So you have your base development team, your medical team, your expedition team, it'll go out and find you shit, and the base defense team, all this other stuff. The research and development team, every team has a grade as you assign players to it. It'll start like E, and then you assign one person to it, it'll go up to D. You find people that have an aptitude for that skill, it can go up to C and B.
I think
and all
that stuff
this
even
stuff
goes back to like Peace Walker.
Right, exactly. So you will find items, you'll find blueprints, recipes for like sniper rifles and shit that'll be like, you can't build this until your R&D team is a C. And I look at it and go like, okay, I have no missions right now to find new survivors. So like I'm physically incapable of doing the work to get there on this until I just wait for more people to show up.
Can you
Hopefully,
buy survivors?
No.
Okay.
Not at this time, I guess I should say.
Yeah, that's a weird caveat to add to.
Not right now, as far as I can tell. There is a thing you can buy that you can apply to your expedition team that will make it more effective, I think, in addition to buying more slots. Man. One of the other things that happens late game is you get a wormhole digger at your base. And over the course of the story, you will have to defend your base from zombie hordes as it digs. This is a thing you can do post-game as well. And it has a real-time function in it. And it's literally like, and you can pay to skip the timer. You can pay real money to skip the timer because it'll be like, because you'll dig and it'll be like, okay, there's going to be a 6-minute wave of enemies coming in and they'll attack your base. So if you've got base defenders, that's good. If you've built turrets and fences and whatever around your base, now's the time to use them because they're going to come attack your shit. You clear that wave. And this is just the first one. I assume that the timers go up, but you clear that wave and it says, all right, they're going to attack again in 12 hours.
What?
That's 12 real hours. Whether you're there or not, they will attack. So that's why you have a base defense team, because you want that to be high level so that it can do the fighting for you. And then at the end of that, you just kind of get the same items you would get out of playing the co-op multiplayer. I assume the rewards end up being greater because of the time involved. But like after you're done with that wave and that timer appears, you can then go pay them an amount of real money to skip that timer and start the next wave.
Cool.
But for what?
Right.
I mean, I don't want to say but for what too much, because at some point, like, that's every video game ever. You're like, well, why am I doing this? And some games do a better job, like, because I can show it to my friends, because I'm enjoying it, like
because it increases like the difficulty of a game I'm having fun with.
There's nothing else there. Like I kind of liked the R&D base allocation stuff in Phantom Pain because it was a backdrop to a better game.
Exactly.
Like the mission,
you could like take a break, go on a few missions.
Well, yeah, it was something to do in between, but the missions in that game, the stealth action, were the draw. You know, like it was cool. It was cool to develop all your stuff in the background in between, but that's not why it was there. But that sounds like that's all that there is here.
Yeah, and as you level up those teams, like the resource requirements for building some items start to go down. So like there's that payoff of like, well, it's maybe it's easier for you to craft bullets because you have a lot of people on this team or something.
Did you ever get to the point where you could just use guns willy-nilly because you have enough
can't hold enough ammo to really make that. Like you can craft pouches that then go onto your shirts that hold more bullets and that sort of stuff. You can increase the amount of ammo you can hold, but never to a point where you're just like dumping all the time. Especially for some of these longer fights. Like I'm trying to think what the longest timer I saw on a wave. I think that there's like a mid-game fight that is like a 15 to 17 minute timer.
Damn.
Of just like, all right. Oh, that's what it is. You are securing a late game item, and it is like, okay, put up some fences. You can't hold a ton of these things, so make sure they don't break. And you're going to defend this position for like 18 minutes. Ooh. And it's just like, it's tense because if you lose, you have to do it all over again. And you're like, man, I don't want to fucking do this once, let alone twice. It's the worst kind of stakes of like, man, this is taking a long time. And if I fail it, I really don't want to do this again. Yeah. So I better do well. It's like it's creating the wrong type of tension because it's the tension of this is a bad thing that it's making.
Do they show you the timer up front?
Yeah.
Like
well, no. Well, I mean, as soon as you start the wave, you don't see it before you hit go.
Yeah.
It's literally like, okay, they're going to start coming and they're not going to stop for 18 minutes, and it's going to be some of the like harder types of enemies.
That's not good.
And so it's like, okay, well, I'm going to expend all my ammo here. Up front, I guess, and then it's going to be a lot of minutes of me poking people through fences.
I'm glad it was you. I mean, not that I have anything against you, but I'm glad I didn't.
Like there are and there are later game items that you can find, and maybe if I had played more multiplayer, I would have found some of those recipes sooner or something like that. But there's like flame traps and shit where it's like, oh, when a zombie steps on this, it burns them, and that does extra damage. And
there's a lot of potential in that engine for some cool stuff,
and I think
in that universe.
I look at it as like that's the thing. They heard you. Yeah. There were a lot of people out there saying like, man, I would love to see another Fox Engine game, and they were like, okay. we don't have the money to really do this big, but we've got a lot of these assets, and let's do it. I wonder if there was ever a push internally to not use the Metal Gear name in that thing, because it is so not tied to those events. It just feels really, but at the same time, it's some of those assets, you know. Like, I wonder if they ever thought like, oh, well, we're not making a Metal Gear game, and then someone came in and said, the fuck you're not.
Big Boss is right there for like 10 seconds in the intro.
It's true.
It's a shame.
And you know, like, I think the assets, like, I would have to go back and really stare at the maps of Phantom Pain and stuff like that. I know people were talking about this pre-release.
Yeah.
And you definitely see areas that you're like, oh, this is definitely this part of Afghanistan. This is definitely this exact structure is in like this other game. But I don't know if it's the exact land mass and or if they retooled it or rebuilt it. But it's because you're in the dust, and so you can't really see
in the dust.
And like, a lot of that survival stuff never really gets that much easier. Like, you are building stuff at your base. Like, stuff like clean water becomes easier to come by. If you're building farms and stuff like that and finding the animals to populate those farms, which was my problem. I built a goat cage, and then it was like 7 hours before I saw another fucking goat. Then some of the food requirements become slightly easier as well, though some of that may come at the expense of the health of the people at your base. And so you have, like, I ended up still having to take a lot of diversionary time to just like, I got to go out there and hunt. I got to get out here and get some more animals and do this stuff.
That alone may be killing my desire to play more of this, because like I said, it was the ability to automate all that upkeep that was keeping me going.
It's only now post game that I feel like the balance has evened out a little bit, but the oxygen thing never changes. The one thing you can do, well, and I guess I should say, like, I don't have 100% of the recipes, so like it's hard to say like definitively the oxygen situation is always the same, because I always wonder, like, oh, is there going to be a bigger oxygen tank I'm going to get? Because I would like to, because exploring this world, like, you at least early on, you think like, oh man, what's going to be around the next turn?
That's exactly what it is. Like, I want to automate like water collection and food production and stuff like that, so I can go out and just like screw around and find stuff. But it sounds like you're
always tethered because of the oxygen thing. The one thing I found that could mitigate that somewhat was an item that you can plop down that refills your oxygen, and enemies will attack it, so it becomes another thing you potentially have to defend. And it's stationary, so it's not like you can. I don't think you can pick it back up and bring it somewhere else and plop it back down.
Is it single use, or you can keep coming back to it?
I think you can keep coming back to it, but you're never, you're never in one place long enough. Like it's easy to. The only place you're ever defending that's in the dust usually is like another fast travel point, or some of these digger missions and stuff. And those can be long, but as long as you're unlocking the fast travel points first, warping back to base to refill on oxygen, going back out, like, that was never the issue. It doesn't actually solve a problem. The problem I wanted to see solved was like, man, I would just like to spend more time out here without having to go back and refill anywhere. And that never really gets solved. But also, like, the world isn't worth it. The more time I spent out there and really started exploring more and more of it, you come to the realization of just like, oh, there's actually nothing out here. Like, we saw in the quick look, there was the gigantic monster that you were like, whoa, what's that?
The Lord of Dust.
The Lord of Dust.
Like, I saw that and I was like, holy shit, I have to play more of this.
Right. Nope,
what the fuck is that?
That is the only thing.
Sounds like
that's the only thing like that.
The one interesting thing out there.
Until you get post game and some of these like powerful creatures show up. There's some weird fucking Lovecraftian monster.
Oh.
Yeah, no.
On roller skates.
No, nothing that good. And you eventually see the other environment from Phantom Pain as well.
Oh,
because there were two there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So there are two here.
Is it connected to that first map, or it's like you port between?
You teleport between fields, basically.
Okay.
And it's really lifeless. You know, that's the worst thing I would say about it is that it's just like the tasks you're tasked with are generally pretty dull.
Yeah.
The world seems promising at the outset, but then as you start to fill in more of the mystery and start to spend more time looking around, like, there's just not that much out there to see. It's just like, oh, here's another case that I can very slowly open and maybe I'll get a recipe out of it. No, wait, no, it's just materials. Great, thanks. Glad I cleared out this area first before doing this. This was definitely worth it. Like, early on you see things that are promising, like the big monster. I found a Jeep at one point, and I was like, oh shit, there are vehicles out here. I think that might be the only Jeep. And it respawns. Like the area is
hard to get a Jeep through a wormhole.
It's true. And the story itself is dumb.
I'm okay with dumb, but
but not like in a fun way. It's just like when it wraps back around and like fills in the gap for you of just like, oh, here's the missing piece of information about the nature of this one character. You're like, oh, all right.
What do you know?
Sure, I guess.
What a bummer, man.
And I guess I'm just dumped back into this world to grow this base for the rest of time and theoretically spend more real money doing it. Like it's
damn it.
It's dull.
Is this the last Metal Gear game?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think that this is the thing
that has been my suspicion.
I wonder. I think this is the thing they made because they saw an opportunity. They saw players clamoring for one more thing with the Fox engine.
Yeah. And they just had all this stuff.
They had all this stuff.
They'd spent a lot of money making MGS5.
Yeah. But still, you could put some care into it. I mean, there's
and I'm sure
so many really like gross microtransaction shit going on in here. Like they're not building up any good faith. They're not doing fun stuff with the IP. That's
kind of what I'm saying. I don't know that they ever had any intention to, because I mean, they pretty conspicuously got out of big budget game development, right? Like that seems like more or less what they said, So like
this in soccer, that's Konami.
Like I never expected them to fund another big like from the ground up Metal Gear game.
I was surprised when Super Bomberman R was announced for Switch. I was like, oh, Konami's still okay,
because that's a new game, right? That hasn't been out on anything else.
That was a new thing. It was bad.
Yeah,
it was a bad game. So Phantom Pain had David Bowie and The Cure. Metal Gear Survive has Simon's Quest and Contra 3 music in it.
What?
Weird.
Like you find tapes.
Oh, just like background music.
Yeah.
Simon's Quest has okay music.
Yeah, it was like,
I'm kind of into that.
You build a little station at your base that plays tapes, and you're listening to suddenly the music from Contra 3 first level comes on, and you're like,
yeah,
that's really weird.
Song.
And it's this really bittersweet moment of just like, man, I had a great time with some of these Konami classics.
As a metaphor, this game seems great.
Yeah,
like big barren world.
In that way, it is very Metal Gear.
Yeah.
Well, have you seen? I mean, did you see the image that was going around over the weekend of the sheet of code names?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That I need to go back and it's hard because I can't create a new character without giving them $10.
Right.
Goddamn. So I would like to see the start of that game again, but I have it on PC and I have it on Xbox, and I've played both in such a way that I'm like, well, I don't want to delete this character, and that's the only way to start over and see that sequence.
How many SV coins is it for another character?
1,000.
1,000?
Is that $10?
That's $10.
Do they keep giving them to you? I have 80 SV coins right now. They give you some as a login bonus. I don't know if that's a constant thing.
They are doing a launch celebration that involves you getting some coins.
If you just play.
It's a celebration.
But not actually enough coins to actually spend on anything.
Totally. That's how it works.
Maybe by the end of the celebration, you will have enough to buy a thing, but I have no idea.
I have
no idea.
If they keep handing them out as a login bonus, if you just play Metal Gear Survive for another, say, 2.5 months, you'll be able to get another character.
I've got a better idea. What if we never talked about Metal Gear Survive again?
I can't guarantee you that I won't talk about this
Jeff,
game.
You don't have to do anything else with it. It's
he has
done.
to survive, Ben. He has to survive.
When you talk about this game being like a metaphor, like that actually ties together with this sheet at the beginning of the game, where you enter your character name and then it shows, I guess it's Good Luck, the guy, shows him looking at the sheet, and it's got all these other code names on it.
Yeah, it's a bunch of
Laughing Hyena.
It's a bunch of mother-based mercs like from Phantom Pain.
And if you look at
Dire Gibbon.
And if you look at the animal names, the second name, the last name of all these characters, and look down the list, it says, and this is from the image going around, I assume it's not doctored, but again, I have not verified this in game, but it looks like it says KJP forever.
Yeah.
Kojima Productions forever.
Yeah. I feel so bad for those guys that were working on that.
And the people that are that are listed at the heads of this game have history in Metal Gear.
Yeah, so I didn't get a chance to read it. I don't know if you saw that Matt Leone at Polygon did a feature story digging into the credits of this game.
Good. I was hoping someone would.
He did the work to
make sense that it would be Matt Leone. Awesome.
Yeah, totally. Like who worked on this game and what connection they have to Metal Gear in the past. I really want to read.
It was like people that were on like the script unit. For some of the previous Metal Gear games, but in ways that like some of of them, like one of the bigger names in this game, it appears to have written codec conversations for like MGS4.
Interesting.
But like some of them go all the way back to MGS1 and such. Like there are longtime people, and they might be Konami side. They might not have been Kojima side.
Yeah.
I don't know that stuff. Yeah. So I did not do the full research myself.
I think it was on Kotaku. I saw they pointed out that the special thanks of the game also credits. I think it's phrased MGS5 all staff.
Yeah, it's which of course they're going to say that.
Well, yeah,
that's not like them having the headline of like the game thanks Kojima. And like no.
That's maybe a little bit much, but like given the acrimony between him and Konami when he got out of there, like you could have seen them swoop in and say no, you can't say that.
I mean, them not thanking him by name and thanking all staff is 100%.
No, but I'm saying like they could have even shut that down.
No, this is the fucking backhanded way to. This is the worse than nothing thing to do.
Yeah,
of like thanks to everybody who worked on that game. Whoever you are, that is 100% that. That is 100% that. Like, don't. Yeah, I would not give them credit for that. If anything, that's slightly. I don't know. That's how I read it.
When you marry it to that list of soldiers, like it paints a different picture.
You're right.
If they're doing stuff
at that point, yes.
Like that kind of.
At that point, it looks like a fucking hostage situation.
That's exactly
betting secret messages into the game. There's like
that's exactly what I was getting at. Like that's the best they could do given the Konami management and their feelings on Kojima.
Which, is all hearsay, I guess, but seems pretty accurate. It's just, I think it's a really lackluster product that does not capitalize on the Metal Gear name in a very good way, but also is not a good survival game. Not that it's like too harsh. It is harsh in ways that like limit the potential for enjoyment because like I said, it ends up tethering you back to base a little too frequently. You have to go back and kind of charge up and stuff, and then the world turns out to not be actually worth exploring unless you want a beret.
I do.
Yeah,
I found a beret recipe, but by the time I found it, I had found 7 pieces of armor that were better than it. So
was it the Soviet beret?
Yeah,
I found that at that event. I was never able to build it.
Is the beret recipe cut some cloth in a circle and put a little bit of it on top, like a flap?
Something like that. It's like 2 screws and 10 iron, and no, it's not for beret, but like the stuff you build for like 10 screws and 5 wood, like that hold fucking metal things all the way around your base. So like the requirements are not harsh for most things. What they do is actually include rare items in the thing. So like, these resources are actually hard to come by because it's like a field manual. I don't even know where you get one of those. If that's something that's like, it looks like something that would only be a reward for multiplayer thing of like, you got a weapons field manual and you need 5 of these to make this sniper rifle. And your team has to have a C rank and this sort of stuff. And you have to be overall level 30 in your main class.
So you have to be online between the hours of 8 p.m. and 6 a.m.
Oh, you have to be online all the time. The game will disconnect you if you do not have internet.
Awesome.
I've seen multiple, since your initial tweet about losing progress, I've seen multiple people, all with like different ways of losing progress in that game.
Yeah. I had the game crash on me on PC. I think actually I had the game crash on me on Xbox. I was crafting something and I held down A and then just went brrr and started like a stuck audio buzz and then it just crashed back to the dashboard. I was like, sweet, great. That was the point where I thought maybe I should stop playing it on Xbox. It's Metal Gear Survive is a depressing
I'm bummed out now.
Like I wanted to see it through because I kind of I felt like I had to know.
Yeah.
I felt like one of us had to know. And now I know.
Yeah.
This is disappointing to me because this is one of the first things I was just steadfast in my cynicism about.
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, there is absolutely no way this game is going to be good. There's no way I'm going to be surprised in the slightest. And it came true. And it just like, what does that mean for me as a person now?
Yeah. You have the sight. That's the thing is, I feel like we've heard so many stories over the years about, and I think, this is true of a lot of games. Like, Kojima gets framed like put up there as the maker of Metal Gear and all this other stuff. And I think, it ended up being around MGS4. It was the time that I heard it kind of most frequently was this idea of just like, he's definitely there, but like there are people under him that are super fucking key to this project that make a ton of really major decisions that are the people that are making it feel like Metal Gear, quote unquote. Like you definitely heard a lot of people saying like, oh, actually the talent is a little more distributed than you might think. So on some level I was like interested to see like, okay, well, like who's left to make this game? Like, will this end up still being Metal Gear-y enough to where you see a way through for it to continue?
Right, where it's like, oh, it doesn't have like that Kojima twist on it, but it feels like a Metal Gear game.
Yeah, I mean, I might argue that like Phantom Pain doesn't have a ton of that Kojima twist on it. Like, there's enough of it.
I don't know.
There's enough of it.
It does.
In the story
episode 2 trailer starts. It's pretty fucking Kojima.
But there's no characters.
Dude, right? There's like 8 major characters in that game.
But like the gameplay,
none of them are even close to like
the game has like no ending. I'll give you that. But like it
has no good like boss moments. It has no good like enemies.
It feels like a very big divergence from what we think of as Metal Gear prior to this.
Yes.
I mean, you think about those long ass cutscenes before. I mean, Phantom Pain has that fucking Jeep ride at the end, and you go like, man, there it is.
It's got plenty of it's got plenty of cutscenes. It's padded out by so much more like straight gameplay though.
Yeah. Right.
It's not a condensed story. It is much more like systems driven, like mechanics heavy game.
Exactly.
It's way more fun to play.
Yes, totally.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like it is the best game I think that Metal Gear's ever produced, but also
like
maybe
the least Metal Gear.
But yeah.
Is what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
And this just feels like they turned that knob the rest of the way and said now it is not Metal Gear-y, except for the 2 things you recognize from Metal Gear that are not used to great effect.
It's got those sound effects.
Yeah, it does.
Pick up an item.
Like Dan, I think Dan tweeted about that. It didn't even like consciously register until he said it that the pickup noise is so satisfying.
Well, if you like that pickup noise, let me tell you, if you level up the Scout subclass, one of the abilities you can pick for it is when you pick up an item, it picks up all other items around you automatically. Which makes that noise like 7 times in a row. Just pops it off.
That's pretty good.
Which is like cool at first, and then you realize like, oh, I actually want to be selective with what I'm picking up because I'm near my weight limit.
Oh, right.
And like filling up on a bunch of fucking wood automatically, and then having to go into a menu and manually fucking discard it sucks.
Oops.
Do you lose upgrades for your old class if you switch to a new class? I don't have the option to get multiple classes.
So the subclass system, like you start with Survivor, when you level that up all the way. Then
that's how you get other classes.
It opens 4 subclasses.
Okay.
And those you switch between.
Okay.
So there are skill trees for each one of the subclasses. It's like Assault, Scout, Medic, and Jaeger, like a bow, like a bow marksman class.
Those sound like they are made for multiplayer.
Kind of.
Like, why would you need a medic class if in a single player game?
Well, the medic class ends up being like when you use med spray, it's a mist that also heals other players around you and shit like that. But then as you level up those,
how does getting better at being a doctor give you the ability to, instead of spraying something on yourself, you're just like, oh, I had a really good idea. What if I just kind of shoot it up
in the air and everybody is... The Division did the same thing. So with the subclasses have abilities and further upgrades for even just like strength and stamina and stuff like that associated with them. But when you level up a subclass, you then have to activate the individual skills on that thing individually, and you only have like 4 slots for your subclass stuff. So those also come with like bonus moves, basically. So I have stealth camo now. And it's like you hit the Y button and you turn invisible for some number of seconds, and then a meter drains, and then it fills back up and you pop it again. And so if you like stealth, that's the thing, because you can make your footsteps silent and you can have that ability, and then you can just stealth kill fucking everything. Shooting does not break stealth. You can just fucking, because the zombies are idiots.
Yeah. They don't have heads.
They don't have fucking heads. But if you shoot them in said head, it will do more damage.
Yeah. A crystal shot.
Yeah, something. It is, I was fascinated by it. And I would love to hear more about how it was made. I would read a story about that for sure.
Yeah.
But I would certainly not recommend it to anyone at this time.
I wonder if it'll go free to play at any point.
If it is on steep discount and you have any love for like the type of survival that you've seen in videos of this game, I might say give it a look. But
if it's like, say, $10-15,
sure,
or something,
maybe at that point.
Yeah.
This game is like a 2 out of 5 game. Absolutely. It is
below par.
Below par.
All right.
Seems as such. Sorry, man.
But I did it to myself. Whatever. It's not.
Thanks for doing the due diligence.
Oh boy,
taking one for the team.
Well, now we know.
Yeah, like we were initially like, oh, let's get it in here. Maybe we'll run some multiplayer streams and stuff like that. But like that aspect of the game is so fucking dull.
Well, like you said, it is promising at first. And when I played the first like 2 hours of it a few weeks ago, that was just enough to pique my interest. And I was like, there might actually be something here.
But like every answer to your question is just kind of like a wet fart. There's just nothing. Yeah, there's nothing to it.
That's really
it's but no.
All right. Good to know.